Imagine inserting in the same rank system the God of Destruction and the Scarab. Man, that phrase did not age well. I am so scared. This tier list will be even more divisive than any other tier lists I have ever done on the channel. I am sure the comments will be flooded with people being like, this guy is an idiot for thinking my favorite opponent is this low. What? This enemy is horrible, doesn't deserve this tier. I wanted you to put Goku in there. And you know what? I am very curious to know all your opinions. For now, we're gonna start the grading. Remember, it's not purely on the battle, it's on other things like designs, interaction, loot, and other things I will say as we go. So, let's jump into the tier list of all the enemies of Fear and Hunger! I don't really have a precise order for these enemies, I'm just gonna go with whatever I want. Let's start with the Jacked Joe. For a lot of people, this may be the first enemy you encounter by just waiting a little bit in the starting zone. And let's be real, if that did happen to you, you got a speedrun world record in the death category. It is incredible how many things this small little enemy teaches you. Their arrival is announced by some messages in the bottom part of the screen, so you know sometimes you will have to look in there. Time is important, there are a lot of time-based events in the game. And most importantly, pick your battles carefully. Sometimes either you are not well equipped enough or are still missing a piece of the puzzle to be able to take down an opponent. Do not feel ashamed for just running away. And there is also a special interaction where they will follow you inside of the dungeon if they already appeared or if you are playing on Terror and Starvation difficulty. And even if the design is nothing too special and the battle is really very simple and boring, it has a talk interaction, there is a coin flip, this is a starter pack together with the guard of the main mechanics of Fear and Hunger. It's not perfect, but I think this one deserves an A tier. We're off to a great start, right? The first enemy is an A tier. Do not get used to it, I'm gonna be very severe in this tier list. Next up is the Prisoner, the one which may randomly spawn in the first level of the dungeon. This enemy has the potential to be the first one to show you for the first time in your run Infection, and immediately after him there is a green herb on the ground, always present there. You will know in Fear and Hunger you don't know the name of the states unless you find a particular book. So there is a chance you don't even know what is the state you have, but with the green herb you can already understand, oh, it's Infection. Perfect. Also even here there is a talk interaction which trivializes the battle completely. And in a more niche way, the same can be accomplished by using a counter magic. Unfortunately though, that's about it. It doesn't even have any loot, and since it's random there is a chance you never fight him. It's not terrible for the interactions I talked about, but it's not even so good to deserve the B tier. I'm gonna put him in C tier. If it wasn't clear, the first enemies I'm placing on the tier list are supposed to give you an idea of how much an enemy has to be good for me to put him into a particular tier. And we can continue that path with the Priest. The Priest battle is not incredible at all. They are so fragile that the average player will not even see them attacking. The only interesting thing is that the coin flip attack can also be avoided by talking to them, because they are supposed to be chanting something, and if you talk to them, they stop the chanting. But apart from that, you can steal a Book of Enlightenment if you're not on hard mode, and you can loot from them, guaranteed, 1 Purifying Talisman and 1 Soulstone. What does this mean? That with them, you get immediately guaranteed access to the Hexen. This is very good both for the new player and for the veteran player. You can either start experimenting with the Hexen having 1 Soulstone, or if you're a veteran you can just take a Blood Portal, I guess. But are you ready for the cherry on top? With their robe equipped, they actually talk to you and tell you some stuff on how does the Empty Scroll work. This is very useful to learn how does the Empty Scroll work. Who am I kidding? Everyone that is watching this video checked the wiki to see how does the Empty Scroll work. But in this case in particular I don't blame you that much, because this robe is not guaranteed. You have just a chance to find it. It's a very cool interaction, but for this reason I'm not gonna consider it that good. I would consider them above the average. B tier. Now, talking about another enemy new players may find in their adventures into the dungeon, there is the Maneba. Man, do you know these idiots had 7 tentacles as body parts in the earlier versions of the game? Despite me loving the blobfish face they have, the battle is nothing interesting. Their attacks are not interesting, just go for the head if you have enough damage and that's it. Oh, and also their gimmick, in which you cannot escape from the battle unless you have escape plan, is flawed, because you can use the battle menu escape to have a chance to run away. they are not even good at doing their job, and they don't drop anything. One thing I can give them credit for, though, is that being very slow, they allow even the new players to dodge them very easily and explore all the basement, while also leaving tension inside you. If you make even one slight mistake and run into them, you're gonna start a battle. So yeah, what I'm trying to say is, I think they are bad, but not that bad. D tier! And if I did A, B, C, D, of course the next one is gonna be... Butterfly! The last thing I was expecting when playing this game was to get a Mr. Burns cameo. But anyways, this is part of the lore enemies that don't really do anything. You maybe can theoretically use Butterfly to farm the Pinecone Pig, but even there, Terror is better, Cave Dwellers are better, because with them you don't have to start a dialogue and then attack, you can just run into the battle and they don't say anything. I guess the only thing you may find from this battle is the Butterfly Soul, which is one of the most situational and most useless souls of the game. I'm sorry, buddy. You tried. E tier! Oh wait, we don't have the E tier. F tier! Okay, the pillars of the tier list have been set up, except for the S tier, so of course now we're gonna go with the Cave Gnome! Cave Gnome. What can I say? It's unique that by standing still they do not notice you, and you can just wait until they go away before moving. It's an interesting concept that even without marksmanship they are gonna go down if you shoot with a bow. It is able to give way more personality to a weapon some players may not even know. And the battle is... boring. Like... Gnomes keep spawning up to a max of 5, with some talk options you can stun them, or if you give the yellow vial you can kill them. It's a mid-battle, again. It expands on the concept of using talk, but I can't give this more than C tier. And now, you knew it was coming. It is finally time to talk about the Guard. The Guard, together with the Crow Mauler, is probably the symbol of fear and hunger. This is the puzzle battle. Here is where, with the suggestions of Sir Seymour in the basement, a player can truly understand a lot of important mechanics. The importance of destroying problematic body parts. The cleaver arm is able to cut off completely the arm of your character. You can guard the coin flip attack. The opponent will lose balance if both the legs go away. I consider this an incredibly fair opponent. The only moments in which you may lose is if you don't know what you're doing. And also, to show you even more how much work was put into this enemy, there are 2 different animations after you die. He will either throw you inside of the blood pit, cutting off your legs, or he will, do something that I cannot say on YouTube. They leave you in miserable conditions, and that's the name of the game, fear and hunger. Drops are also pretty good. They can drop some arms for the Circle Spear, for example. They have so many interactions, and the battle is that much of a puzzle that I think this one deserves S tier. I can already imagine all the comments. What do you mean, Frapollo? The Guard sucks, so you're just stupid! But this already happened with like 3 other tier lists, so tell me all your opinions. I'm curious to hear them. And now it is time for the Scarab and the alternate art Scarab. I am gonna consider them together because nothing changes between them. You may already know the reason for which I find this battle hilarious. It's because their signature move, which melts your weapon, was written in a very peculiar way, by manually making the game check for all the different combinations of all the different characters and all the different weapons. Imagine writing 2,000 lines of code for a thing that would have required at most 2 lines of code. Now, let's go back serious for a second. The ability to prevent them from exiting from their hideout by standing still is a fantastic idea. A very important aspect of the game is to pay attention to everything that happens, and even if they aren't so strong, the feeling of them not exiting from there because of your decisions is incredible. On top of that, you can also pacify them with Mastery over Insects. I like this. It does not deserve A tier, but I will surely go for B tier. Okay, let me quickly check the time. Oh, in 10 minutes we did like 6 enemies. Oh baby, I guess you're gonna eat good today, right? Next up on the list is the Mumbler. Let's clarify, the Mumbler is not made to kill you. It's one of those enemies that are simply supposed to reduce your resources. All of the normal attacks of this creature reduce your mind, leading you closer to get panphobia. Which I think is not even for new players something problematic, as the mind-restoring items are a lot. The special gimmick is the head has the same evasion of any other body parts. This means you can instantly win by attacking it. at the cost of one of your party members getting attacked and poisoned, giving you an incredible choice. Do I go for the torso and try to win taking mind damage, or do I go immediately for the head? Do I have a white vial to heal poison? I was actually joking about the incredible choice part. This choice would be very cool if it was any relevant. The Mumbler tries to be a funny opponent, but there is really nothing good about it. I cannot give this one more than D tier. And since we are here in the thicket, let's talk about the Greater Mumbler. Okay, this seems not a lazy idea. It maintains the Mumbler mechanic of the head having almost no evasion and expands on it. Now the opponent is a serious threat, and if you are not prepared, this may actually kill you. It's an enemy meant to be strong, it is strong, and it constantly makes you feel anxiety. In all the zones where Greater Mumblers are present, you will constantly hear the bell going din, din, din. They are here. You have to fear them. They may be behind the corner, you don't know where they are. It is a similar feeling to hearing the Crowmolar bursting into a room. I like this factor, solves some of the things I didn't like about the Mumbler, but unfortunately there is no loot, and even if I like the design, I think this one deserves B tier. Oh boy, the next one is one of my favorites, Terrortur, also known as Terrortur the White, Terrortur, Terrorful, Terrorfur, and so many more. His special death cutscene can be triggered in different ways, and it is one of my favorite. The battle itself is pretty simple, there is one single body part that attacks and has low HP, but that's the tip of the iceberg. You can befriend Terrortur by talking. Let me repeat, befriend an enemy, to eventually get what is considered the first or the second best armor in the game. Or you can just steal the key during the battle. The possibilities are not a lot, honestly, but they are very funny. Does it seem I love Terrortur? Yes, I do! And even if I love him, I am not gonna give him S tier. I'm gonna give him A tier. We went through so many funny enemies. Who is the next one? Okay, the Userus. This, like the Manebas, is not a battle made to fight you. It moves very slowly and there is almost no reward for fighting it, unless you consider stealing an orange vial a reward, I guess. Despite that, the battle itself has an interesting idea, we may say. There is an embryo which develops during the turns until it becomes a fully grown embryo. It brings to you the question, am I gonna win before the baby arrives? Even though the real problem is we still didn't talk about the embryo, but we will know later. I don't really like it. It's so difficult as an opponent even if it develops fully. Like, the idea is good, but that's the only thing you will find in this battle. There is no particular attack you have to prepare for. Crazy loot. The design is also very bad in my opinion, but I mean, it was created by Valtail, so that makes sense. For the originality of the idea, I'm gonna give C instead of D. Oh, and since we're talking about originality, there is another opponent which does something similar. The Assassin Spectre. The way in which this creature follows you through the dungeon is different from the one of the Crowmolar. He will appear out of nowhere in certain places. There is a cool talk interaction where you can give him back the sword so that he leaves you alone, but all this cool stuff ends in 1 or 2 turns of battle with that same sword, like, do you really need to do that? The real problem with this battle is that you can just Unga Bunga on him with the same sword you get from him. And there is only one body part of the opponent, which is the whole opponent. So like, where is the strategy? Maybe it's just me. Maybe this battle is actually very cool or something. There's gonna be someone that says, oh, actually, if you look very closely, there is the Yegaigetsu symbol on him, so maybe he's the Yegaigetsu spirit or something. I don't care. Very linear battle, but since it gives you what is considerable either the first or the second best sword in the game, it deserves B tier. The next one is debatable, the Cave Spider. Okay, gameplay-wise, I think every one of us felt the same satisfaction when we discovered you can step on them. Because if you don't, they're actually pretty elusive and are gonna poison your team. But that's the end of the battle, literally. There is nothing else. Okay, there is a dialogue if you have mastery over insects, which is just a flavor and does nothing, but it's completely useless. I know I gave the Cave Gnomes a higher tier, but the Cave Gnomes did it better and did it funnier. F tier. The next enemies we have to analyze are actually a duo, the Old Knight and the Spectre Knight. Let's start from the Old Knight. This is curious to say the least. One thing I love is that in Fear and Hunger difficulty, you can just use an explosive vial to get rid of him, but in Terror and Starvation difficulty, all of his body parts have 300 HP. This means you have to change your strategy depending on the difficulty you play on, something I appreciate a lot. It gives different difficulties more variety, you don't always do the same thing. Okay, to be fair, in the endgame we always do one of three things, which is Black Orb, Eastern Sword, or Cursed Blue Scene. But that's endgame, okay? In endgame, of course, there is a better strategy than the others. It also enables the access to Nosramo's room when defeated, and if he doesn't have legs, he isn't able to move. Also, there is currently a little bug. In this battle, if you have escape plan, for some reason you cannot escape, but if you don't have escape plan, you have a chance to escape, so whatever. I still consider this one better than the average, so I'm gonna give it a B tier. And if the old knight was so good, maybe the Spectre Knight will be good as well, right? Right? This moron has only one body part, has 10,000 HP, and only takes damage from cursed weapons or spells, except you can actually put dots on him like poison or burn, and he will take damage from those, so you can just dot him until he reaches 1 HP, and then attack with a cursed weapon. I don't know, to me it's a very boring battle. Also, you can escape 100% of the times, so it's not even a challenge or you have to pay attention to something. No, you can always escape from this moron. No, I do not like him at all, especially because I will never forgive the developer for not giving the veteran player, the one that actually kills this thing, the possibility to access Nosramo's hideout without defeating the old knight. I know it's pointless to do it, but at least give me something for it. No. This one is an F tier, the biggest F tier of this tier list. Do you remember when I said I was gonna be very harsh? And let's go to another knight, Sir Seymour. Let's start with an interesting peculiarity. You can start the battle in two ways, either by attacking him, or if you rat out Bachman and he suspects of you, once you approach the dead body of Tortur, he will automatically attack you. That's very cool, in my opinion. But the battle itself is kinda boring. He just attacks with the sword, and attacks with the sword, and attacks with the sword. One thing I can give him credit for is that at least he sets up the idea that NPCs are not gonna be easy. If you really want to go ignorant and just kill all the NPCs, you have to be ready. A new player which doesn't know anything about the game will never be able to defeat Seymour. Unless lucky. Another good thing is you can steal a scroll that teaches leg sweep, and he drops the claymore and the chainmail hood. The claymore is a weapon praised by a lot of the new players. Yeah, I know, big numbers can be very funny, especially if you still don't know about the Eastern Sword. I heard of some players that decided to specifically do save scamming just to get the claymore at the start. Or of players who got the claymore in another way, let's say. To summarize, the battle is but the loot makes up for it enough to give it a B tier. And talking about NPCs, let's go to Kahara. I'm gonna make a big assumption, are you ready? I know why you maybe said you tricked me when you met Kahara in the mines. You played Dark Souls, decided to not forgive patches to get the twin humanities, and thought this was gonna be the same, right? You idiot. Anyways, the battle is once again hard without preparation. His arms have incredible evasion. He also has a pretty unique mechanic where he's gonna steal stuff from you during the battle, and if you try to steal, you cannot steal anything. He catches you in the act. And don't even expect to rush the torso, because he's gonna constantly heal with light blue vials that casually restore 300 HP on all the body parts. There must be some quality jewels in there, wonder where he found them. Oh, I'm gonna say this now so I don't have to repeat it for all the other characters. If you use a soulstone on the main characters, you will get the soul of their skill tree, giving you access in the hexen to their souls. This is something invaluable. Necessary, maybe not, because you can just kill the new gods, but as a new player, this maybe can turn out good. Okay, let's be real, if you fought Kahara, you used Black Orb on the head, right? The mercenary gets easily access to skills to trick the opponent, and surely his enemy version keeps faith to that. He goes on A tier. We are doing a lot of NPCs, of course we're gonna continue with the Embryo. So I guess, if you liked the baby in the Battle of the Uterus, now be ready because he's the real deal! I don't like this battle. Not because it's hard or anything or because it's easy, but because there is nothing to experiment with or interesting ideas to find. You kinda just attack the only body part present, and I don't know, they can summon multiple babies, and that's about it. There is nothing really I can talk about in here. Like the cave gnomes, you can just shoot with the bow and they die immediately, but they almost seem to me like the developer looked at the cave gnomes and said, how can I remake this for Mahabre? And boom, the Embryo came! These little interactions I mentioned are decent to put them on D tier, but nothing more than D. Oh boy, I am excited for the next one, the wooden door. The wooden door is an A tier. No, hold on, relax, let me cook. I know you may laugh, but the door is a very good opponent. Rewards the ability to maintain more party members in the party and therefore having more damage to destroy doors. Or, if you have a good weapon like the Eastern Sword for example, you can completely go around the dungeon in the wooden doors. Multiple interactions with lockpicking, small keys, red vial, the possibilities opened by these doors, and the fact that they have so many interactions put them on A tier. You know, it's kinda funny because from now on, everything below A tier is worse than a door. Let that sink in. Okay, let's continue. Moonless! I mean, yeah, okay, there is the talk interaction and eventually you get her as a party member, but apart from that, the battle is horrendous. And I don't mean just horrendous because it's boring being literally just a single jacked Joe, long story short, but because it doesn't work. Like, she can use Howl, which gives her an attack boost, which does not actually increase anything, because her damage formula is a fixed amount of damage. I find it pretty mediocre, okay? And even then, she stays on C tier, because the idea of getting an enemy as a party member has always been, and will always be, incredibly cool. I can already imagine all the people coping in the comments being like, what do you mean, she's the best girl? Touch grass. The next one is not technically a battle. We have the Beheaded Wizard plus Darkness. I will consider them together because basically you cannot fight them singularly. This battle cannot be won. Even if you're able to do 1 million damage, Beheaded Wizard cannot be killed. The recruitment thing is okay, but there is not really a battle I can consider for this opponent. And so I got an idea. There is one thing I can consider. This is, for a lot of players, the first time you will hear this. If you did not hear it for the first time here, you played the whole game wrong. If I considered purely the battle, this would be F tier, but with this soundtrack, I think I can at least expand it to C tier. Okay, we waited enough, it's time to continue with the other main characters. Darcy! Oh boy, she's dangerous. If you give her a single chance to attack, she has the potential to cut off your limbs. And she's gonna reduce your defense... No, actually... it doesn't work. She is arguably the best party member to recruit, and as an opponent she does not joke. There is also a little talk interaction where you can ask her to stop fighting even though it's basically bugged in the majority of the situations, like near Legard she stops talking completely, and in Mahabre she just, you exit from the fight and she refights you immediately. What? No, you know what? I think there are too many bugs. I have to consider them a little bit at least. So she goes from B tier to C tier. Going from being one of the best characters to be one of the worst opponent main characters. How does it feel? It's time for my man Enki. Wow, he knows a lot of good spells in this battle. There is Locust Swarm, there is Hurting, there is... No, okay, that's pretty much it. But then why, when I recruit him, he does not have Locust Swarm, god damn it! The interaction where he summons a skeleton from the ground is very cool. Potentially it can give you the information that necromancy works on skeletons. And also, if you annoy him too much on the first floor, once you reach the level 7, he will spontaneously attack you. I would say it's as good as Darcy, but he has less bugs, so B tier! Did you get it? Less bugs, where he literally uses Locust Swarm. And let's finish this part with Ragnavaldr. I think his normal attack bypasses Pheromone's effect, which is an interesting idea if only you even cared about doing Pheromones against him. It's funny, he's the only character which starts the game with a taunt skill and his attacks cannot be taunted. He has a coin flip, it's a normal battle. C tier. If you loved the door, be ready because now we have door 2! The metal door! I preferred the wooden door. Miasma is an okay weapon, but compared to the content behind the other doors, I think it's kind of a waste. I'm gonna just mention two wooden doors. The one that opens up to Salmon Snake, and the one with a Book of Enlightenment and a ritual circle in it. And let's be real, you almost never destroyed this door or used the Chromolar key to open it. I am sure you almost always used Leg Sweep. D tier! Now, the Minor Spectre is surprising to say the least. They give you all the time in the world to run past them before they actually materialize into existence, which is a very good reward for the veteran player that is not scared of just running into them. And while the battle itself is completely boring, they only do one thing and have only one body part. The one thing they do is actually noteworthy. The attack they use, Ruin, makes your character become older, and for all the characters there are two different alternative stages of their appearance. Let me repeat, the developer created basically 2 times more sprites because of this random idiot. It would have been an F tier without this. With this, it jumps straight up into C tier. I think now it's a good time to mention the Redman. This is not really intended to be fought, I guess, because there is no reward, you can't skin him, you can't eat him, like, the only thing you can do is use a soulstone on him, but at that point just kill a freaking cave dweller. The battle is also not too complex, he has only one body part which is kinda problematic, and a coin flip attack. I think they are more intended to be scary, rather than a good enemy. And I can agree, they are kinda scary, especially the one in the Temple of Torment screaming every time you pass by, so this, I think, at least can bring them to D tier. Come on, I need to see someone actually good, please, give me something good. Oh, it's time. Yellow Mage! After the guard, I see this one as another choke point of the early game. Overworld hurting and the combo of Locust Swarm plus hurting in the battle are both deadly. And it almost seems the 2 yellow mages present in the game are unskippable. And yet, it's so fair as a battle. You only need to cut off one leg to get rid of hurting. Locust Swarm is still there, but you already got rid of the major problematic damage. You can skip both of them without losing limbs if you have dash. On top of that, there is another special interaction with Tolk where they're gonna give you the Eclipse Talisman, necessary for both Enki and Nashra. Or just a very low magic protection resistance if you want to fight Valtail and, I don't know, you don't want to risk of dying against Black Orb. Also, if you cut off both the legs, he will just stop attacking altogether. I love this so much. S tier. And if it wasn't clear, I am trying to keep S tier for enemies that I think are perfect like this. But let's move on for a second from the best category ever. Let's go to the Lizardman. For a new player, he has some very interesting loots between the Carrot Sword, the Hard Leather Armor, and the Ring of Braids. Dropping a Ring of Braids in your first run is like dropping the Black Knight Halberd in Dark Souls. Apart from that, the battle is kinda normal, but there is one peculiarity. Okay, the sword arm just does some normal attacks, the head attacks with poison, but the shield puts counter on all the body parts of the opponent. What does this mean? That every time you perform a physical attack, they will counter-attack you. And counter is the only enemy attack that considers your defense in the damage formula. What does this mean? Girl and Moonless, you better not attack the Lizardman, or... I find this very funny, honestly. It's a plus. And the unique loss animation is very, very cool. Definitely not perfect, but kinda good. B tier. Oh well, the last enemies were kinda good. I wonder who is the next one. So, the human hydra is again part of those low enemies that don't do literally anything. You maybe can use him to farm Pinecone Pig, but once again, Trolltour or the cave dwellers are better. The design is kinda cool, it's inspired by Junji Ito probably, and I guess the interactions with the girl and the demon kid are cool to see for the first time, but they are completely useless, so I can't give this one more than D tier, maybe? But okay, let's move to the first variant. You see, there are some opponents which are variants of others. We saw that with the Scarabs, and in general is opponents that either have different arts or that have different body parts or mechanics related to them. And in particular, we're gonna go to the Prisoner. The Prisoner variant is not a good start for the variants, because this one is slower in the overworld, has one less arm that attacks. I mean, this shows you that enemies can crawl without legs, I guess. It's more boring than the other, and has just a slightly different design. Nah, D tier. But fortunately, we go away from the D tier for a second because we finally can talk about Isaiah. Let's start with the obvious, the loot. His Iron Mask is fundamental towards dealing easily with opponents like the Caramolar and, if you really need, the Skin Granny. For the rest, the battle is one of the most original things I've ever seen in the dungeon. First of all, the arm appears after the first turn. Second of all, the other arm does a coin flip attack. And you know what's the beauty in it? Isaiah apparently touches you and gives you the plague. But that attack, actually, does nothing gameplay-wise. Anyone who doesn't know this will think that the plague attack actually is very dangerous. It may bring death to you in any second. Something bad may happen. The player ends up being left with a lot of perplexity. The mystery created by this one attack, in my opinion, is one of the most funny experiences of the dungeon, once you know it actually does nothing. And do I need to mention map number 1 and map number 2? Also being Isaiah related to one of the endings, Isaiah is fantastic! Third S tier. I feel like I already gave too many S tiers, so let's move to something easier to evaluate. Okay, female molded. Boring. F tier. Male molded. Wait, is that the same thing, but with a slightly different F tier. Cave Dweller! No, actually, no, sorry. There are so many interactions with them that I legitimately don't know what to start with. Let's try to summarize it. They are normally neutral, but if you attack them or steal the cube, they're gonna attack you. On top of that, if you have the Stone Crown when you steal the cube, they will not attack you in that occasion. Having also an extra sprite if you talk to them while having the Stone Crown equipped. This adds more decision making. Do you want to defeat the Salmon Snake first, or do you first get the cube and maybe go to Mahabre and get some other stuff? 10% to have an exclusive scenario in which all the cave dwellers are dead and they are replaced by 2 moonless guards. Let's go to battle. There are 4 different types of cave dwellers. Males, females with a hat, and spear dweller. I already appreciate this great variety in designs. The first 3 are basically identical. You destroy one arm and then win because they cannot do anything else. Pinecombing Farm! Yeah, their battle is definitely the most poor battle I've ever seen. But the one with the hat is also merchant, so that's a plus. The Spear Dweller, instead, thinks he's the main character. Not only his spear does great damage, but if you destroy it, he will automatically tackle you. This does not happen when you go for the head, which still gives you a way to do it no damage. I'm gonna give male and female C tier, and merchant and spear dweller B tier. Alright, who is next on the list? The Night Lurch. The Night Lurch is, I think, the definition of the famous phrase, "Remind yourself that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer." The critical state applied by him is mortal and can kill one of your party members in a couple of turns. Has an exclusive jump animation, a coin flip. There is a 25% chance when you enter into the battle for him to just not being able to see you, giving you an extra chance to be able to either escape, ambush, or do nothing. And if you are very scared, there is the remote possibility of equipping a goal outfit to not be attacked. Not bad, there is a lot of stuff to talk about, but I don't think it's enough to reach the A tier. That's why I'm gonna give it B tier. What instead, in my opinion, is better than the Night Lurch is the Lord of Flies. Oh boy, it's time for Gordon Ramsay himself. This screams so badly to be a late game opponent. 400 HP on both the arms is very high, and attacks even with the head. There is a chance for a coin flip attack when you start the battle that has the potential to deal 10 damage to you. His attacks bypass your armor, dealing the same damage independently from what you have. If you fight him, this really sets the mark of you entered Mahabre, now it's your problem. That's why I love him. He is so balanced for the purpose it has in the game. Veteran players can also use the talk interaction to stun him temporarily. There is even a slight fun interaction where if you burn the torso, the head becomes vulnerable. Will it ever be used? Maybe no, but I like it. A tier! It is time for the second branch of the variants, and in this case, flower variants. Flower variants are opponents which were infected by the flowers in the thicket. We start off with the guard. it's guard, but with one more opponent to damage, and at least the sprite is unique, otherwise it would have been literally the laziest way to implement it. But still, it does not absolutely deserve to stay in the same place. Easy recycling the ideas, right? Let's make all the opponents like the Crow Mauler then, okay? We're gonna have the Guard Mauler, the Knight Mauler, C tier. The next one is Lord of Flies Flower variant. There is the same reasoning... Oh, also here you cannot talk like you could with the Lord of the Flies. That doesn't really change my reasoning. Also, look at that crazy crit on myself, wow. D tier! Night Lurch That's the Night Lurch Flower? That's the same sprite with a flower. F tier. Mumbler F tier. Oh wait, the Body Snatcher is not a flower variant. Okay, I guess the dart in the overworld can catch you off guard the first time, so it is able to apply poison on you, and the animation is clearly seen on the screen. In battle they have several unique things, in particular, Toxic Dagger, which applies Toxic, which is a stronger poison, Paralyze, which completely blocks everything a character can do until the end of the battle, and I know between you there are some people who lost some hard mode runs because you didn't know this, and you went into the battle solo, and he paralyzed you, right? On top of that, they are able to drop Throwing Darts and the Trench Coat. Throwing Darts are very good to poison the enemies, poison is broken in the game, and the Trench Coat can be used against... Grogoroth for reducing the fire damage you take while another character tanks the physical hits, maybe? B tier! Third branch of the variants, the Miasma characters. They are basically the same battle as their normal version, except now Miasma is present for incredibly high damage. For the rest, the battle is basically identical, except it can be ended by offering an Elixir of Mind to the opponent, or by cutting off the Miasma arm. To be fair, I think I should consider also the Miasma event itself. The possibility at any moment, if your characters are low on mind, to just go crazy if they have the Miasma equipped, surely is scary. Until you realize you can just not equip the Miasma, or, I don't know, give it to a guard or to a skeleton. Since they are pretty similar, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna give each one of them the tier below their respective character, okay? Kahara B, Enki C, Darcy and Ragnavaldr D. God damn it, I don't even know if I'll be able to edit all this stuff for Sunday. You know what, guys? Please, leave a like and subscribe. I'm asking in the middle of the video because, really, this is taking a lot of work for me, so please. And while you do, we go to the Gaunt Knight. You can see the developer worked more on this one, creating the special mechanic where he drops the swords after a certain amount of damage is received. Also, with him changing between standing idle or going fully crazy against you and just rushing, on top of the incredible loot you get from him, the arguably best armor in the game, this enemy not only puts interesting ideas on the table, it's also a funny battle and very rewarding. This one is the fourth S tier. Okay, I think the S tiers are gonna be over for a while now, because we have to talk about the skeleton. Yeah, you know when you fail necromancy, this is the thing you may fight. I can understand the idea of giving a small punishment in case you failed the coin flip for the skeleton and you did not have greater blood magic. And the fight, if you have Enki, can also be ended instantly by using counter magic. But apart from those interactions, the battle is kinda... mid. It doesn't really do anything special, doesn't do anything not too special. C tier. And now we have another type of variant, Marianki and Flower Valder. These enemies are present in Terror and Starvation difficulty. They're gonna spawn after you enter inside of Mahabre. Let's start from Marianki. The battle is... bugged in the current version. Hold on, let me just boot up the previous version of Fear and Hunger so I can actually show you what happens. Interesting idea of having to kill 2 heads instead of 1 if you want to go for the heads. We'll not use magic attacks on the first turn, giving you a turn to prepare, and the hatchet is very dangerous. It's a very good balance for a battle supposed to appear in Terror and Starvation difficulty. I would say B tier. For Flower Valder instead, I appreciate a lot that in the normal battle, Ragnavaldr uses the bow, and in this one he uses the axe, which are the 2 possible main starting choices for Ragnavaldr itself. Also, the Brain Flower is not just the same model of the other enemies. I think it deserves to stay at least on the same level as Ragnavaldr, in C tier. And it's time for what I think it's the final variant. I don't remember, honestly, while I'm recording the audio, I don't remember. The New Gods. So, these are not battles. Like, you enter in battle with them, but then there is a wall of text, and then you get an ending, in ending D, okay? So the only thing I can really consider is the design, I guess. I mean, Kahara is very good. Enki is Mikolash from Bloodborne, so I don't really like him a lot. Ragnavaldr looks like the bear is eating him, so pretty mediocre. And with Darcy, it seems like the armor is fused with her, which I appreciate a lot. She is kinda similar to Francois' design. I do not dislike this at all. I'm gonna give Enki and Ragnavaldr F tier and Kahara and Darcy D tier. And since we're in the void, do I really have to talk about the asterisk? Behold! That's the asterisk! Oh no! What is it gonna do? Legard gave up the possibility of using a black orb to summon an asterisk. What is gonna happen? Deal crazy damage? Immobilize a character? It's, once again, basically, a cave gnome. Legard skips a turn to summon one cave gnome. You know who else does that? Cave Mother. Except she does not have to waste a turn. She does it automatically at the end of it. And she is at the start of the game. This is the stupidest minion to give to a final boss. F tier. Next up, the Ballista Guard. It could be considered a variant technically, I mean, I am the one which is calling them a variant. How does this work? It's like a guard, except it does not cut off limbs, but it's focused on shooting with his ballista every 2 turns. The battle is very basic and doesn't really give anything special and new to the adventure. What's more interesting is the overworld interaction. You can not only bait the ballista and then pass it through, easily skipping this idiot, but in case you have a guard outfit, the ballista will never shoot you. It's definitely lower than the normal guard, but it's not too terrible. C tier. Oh wait, on the C tier there is the flower guard. B tier! Are you ready for the last door of the game? The iron bars? I appreciate that for some of them in the prisons you can actually open them by getting the cell keys F3 from the guard or from the Iron Shakespeare? Did anyone really fight the Iron Shakespeare for these keys and not the guard? And most importantly, there are some non-key openable iron bars we need to discuss about, in particular the one that connects you to the level 7 catacombs. You can in fact try to gain some good damage in the early game with the recruitable Kahara in the prisons and just destroy the door immediately, having immediate access to the level 7 basement. Or just use leg sweep, of course. This one enemy basically opens up another way of exploring the dungeon, on top of having some extra interactions with the guards and in general with stuff like red vials. It's not incredibly good, but I think it's better than the metal door. C tier! And okay, this technically could be considered the variant, the Bloody Man, but trust me, you are gonna be surprised. I love the detail that when Necromancy brings them back up, they die immediately, because Necromancy is not able to keep them alive. It is useless, but funny and unique. And in battle, you cannot apply anymore the same strategy you had for the goal, because you will require 2 turns of talking to defeat them. Also, the cowl animation is okay, for sure it's able to make you feel scared. I think the Bloody Man barely deserves to stay on C tier with the prisoner. Lady of Moon time! Lady of Moon is a glorified cutscene. Literally. You enter there to talk and give the girl to restore status effects, and this fortunately gives you an option to prevent the Moonless from killing her, and giving the girl here is only good in very specific cases, because, you know, usually you want to do ending A with the girl, or just keep a party member, because why would you give away a controllable party member? Unless, I don't know, you lost your legs and you have already a marriage, so you cannot become a marriage again, like, is this really useful? Like, it's a special interaction, don't misunderstand me, but why? I don't know. In my opinion, it fails on all sides. F tier. Okay, it's almost over. There are only a couple more normal enemies. First of all, the Elite Guard. This may almost be considered a mini-boss for the terms of friend hunger. It is absolutely placed in the early zones of the game to make you understand you don't have to fight everything. Also, it has an exclusive death scene, which is one of my favorites from the first game, and the battle is basically a guard with more HP. Good. But in my opinion it's too easy because it's another enemy that already worked on an enemy which was already great, so I'm gonna give it B tier. And talking about working on already great enemies, the Yellow Lizard Mage is literally a marriage between a Lizard Man and a Yellow Mage, 2 enemies which on my tier list are very high. And the best part is the Yellow Lizard Mage takes the most important parts from both of his creators, maintains the powerful spells, and also has some good source attacks. We can say it has a good balance, there is also one that dances like the Yellow Mage, and a little talk interaction. Not incredible, but very good. B tier. And we have another guard. God damn it, I really feel like this game exaggerated on the amount of guards. We have ballista guards, elite guards, flower guards, and now... moonless guards. Okay, I was joking when I said I wanted to mix the Crow Mauler with other enemies, but can we have the Crow Guard? Just like Lord of the Flies, Moonless Guard is clearly designed to be a hell of an opponent. They are mainly present in the Gauntlet, which is a final area of the game, but technically there is the possibility, 10%, to find them in the Cave Dweller village after the massacre. But their placement is kinda good, because one is very easily skippable, and the other one, with a little bit of work, can be skipped too. What I'm trying to say is, you are not required to fight them, there is a way to juke them. Now, let's go back to the Gauntlet. Tight corridors. The amount of precision to juke them in the Gauntlet is much more. The battle is once again like the guard, but there is one extra body part that attacks, which may require some extra setup to not take damage, I don't know, stun the body part or locust swarm. And just like the Lord of the Flies, it's gonna be in A tier. Okay, the last normal enemy remaining. The Harvestman. This is honestly difficult to rate, because the only thing he does is a coin flip attack every few turns in battle. So the battle is kinda mediocre, as you can just guard it. Okay, there is one Harvestman which is bugged and you cannot guard it, but I will not consider that bug in this exact moment, okay? I can't not consider the shock of just seeing a creature like this walking around, and the creepy interaction with the girl in Terror and Starvation difficulty. This one would have been an F tier, it's gonna be a D tier. And now it's time to talk about the bosses. And there is a problem. Bosses were already treated in another tier list video, and talking fully about them now would make basically the other video pointless. But at the same time, not talking about them in an all enemies ranked video would be kinda the worst idea ever in my opinion. And this, kids, is to show you how important planning is in anything. My idea is very simple. I am gonna rush and summarize all my points, and I'm also gonna suggest you, if you are more interested, to watch the other tier list. Not everyone will be satisfied with this, of course. I'm pretty sure some people will find it a stupid idea, but I don't care. Let's go! Cave Mother. Pretty generous as a first boss fight, offers you two different ways of dealing with her, either going for the torso or for the wings. Will give you some time to heal before the second phase, which is both fair and teaches you have to pay attention to everything. And as a loot, the soul is trash, but the eggs are very good for the Salmon Snake battle. A tier. Iron Shakespeare. This also may be potentially your first boss you fight. It's just a big beater, with nothing too special about him. Okay, he can burn the hands, but that's not really something that changes anything in gameplay, he just beats you more. I think it's mid. C tier. Crow Mauler, the emblem of the dungeon. You can see him in a conformation behind some bars, which already sets up some expectations. Follows you through the dungeon. It's not too fast, so you're still able to dodge him if you don't want to fight him. Unique mechanic in Terror and Starvation where he breaks the walls, and the battle requires a lot of preparations. Not because it's tremendously complex, but because it puts a lot of stuff on the table. Between Pack and Flock of Crows, the amount of stuff you need to pay attention to is a lot. S tier, and I just realized both of the brothers are in S tier, so give a little clap for the brothers! Salmon Snake, there is a unique way to blind him by destroying the eye, which will cause the arms to attack less often. The coin flip attack is very unique because it's only gonna be triggered when the tongue comes out fully from the mouth. Moonless is nearby, and if you take her as a party member, she will almost always focus the tongue after she destroys the eye, putting a dot on the tongue, which will cause the tongue to never come out. Also, you can decide if you want to defeat the Cave Mother first or the Salmon Snake first. Salmon Snake for the Salmon Snake soul to skip the limb loss from the Cave Mother, or Cave Mother for the eggs to skip the Salmon Snake. A tier. Black Witch. Yeah, you can get the Black Witch soul from her, but it's still just a big beater like the Iron Shakespeare. I'm sorry, it doesn't make much of a difference for me. C tier. Skin Granny gives you one free turn at the start to be able to use stuff like Fast Stance, a Brown Vial, heal yourself in case you're not prepared. Very dangerous with a critical state you may have known from the Night Lurch, and has a unique coin flip attack with a unique death animation for your characters, which is gonna give her a different mask for each character. Not incredible, but not bad. B tier. Valtail keeps watching you since you enter into the Grand Library, which builds up the tension. In the battle, he has the potential to be very dangerous if the RNG is not with you. He can either use Black Orb, hurting or nothing, and then headbutt or nothing. What I love is that even with the worst RNG, you can still triumph with some good setups. Also, there is a talk interaction where he takes damage, and the third eye is able to use Whispers of Garokoroth, putting you on a timer. Overall, there is a good amount of stuff that I love. A tier. Chambara. Chambara battle is divided in two parts. First, he tries to catch you while you try to sacrifice one of your party members, and second, in the Pool of Blood. In this battle, I love how much your knowledge can turn this battle from being one unsurmountable obstacle to be like the easiest thing in in the world. It feels so rewarding when you understand the gimmick of the circles and you're able to almost no damage the battle. S tier. White Angel. After you defeat Chambara there is no more music. It sets up a very good mood. And in the battle you can decide if you want to either go for the torso or for the heart, which has a great evasion. Unique death animation where he literally slices you in half. And in the original video I was not considering the souls. That's kind of a problem. Okay, you know what? It was B tier, let's put him in A tier. But for Apollo, the Black Witch is in C tier and she drops the Black Witch soul. Fine, Black Witch in B tier. Nameless figurine. It just attacks you and is also very weak. It's like a worse Iron Shakespeare in Mahabre. F tier. You know, I love in the original video, a lot of people told me I don't understand the Nameless figurine because it's actually supposed to be a weak opponent. But the point is, just because a battle is supposed to be weak, that does not mean it has to be boring and stupid. The Old Guardian at least, it's weak, but it's funny, he throws boulders at you. B tier. Francois is a talking simulator because once you know about the talk mechanic, there is no reason to not use that, and it completely stops Francois from doing anything, so F tier. But for Apollo, you said you kinda liked the talk mechanic with the prisoner. Listen, do we agree that there is a small difference between the prisoner and the dominating one sitting on the throne of Mahabre? Mumbler 2! It's basically the Mumbler but with 2 heads. It's a recycled version, it's still cool, but nothing too special. B tier. Greater Blight gives you a lot of time to prepare for the battle, you have a chance to kill him before he actually reaches you, and the Chomp is one of the deadliest attacks of the dungeon. B tier. Flying Blight. You know, this is not a boss. I don't know why I placed it in the boss tier list, but no one realized it, so I guess we're fine. The real problem is that it's very difficult to even start the battle with this, even unintentionally. And honestly, it doesn't even do anything too special. C tier. Yellow King. I already told you the asterisks are terrible. Mix that with the fact that the snake heals 70 HP to each body part each turn. Like, at that point, just don't make it restore anything. I feel like it could have been much better. C tier. Sylvian, exclusive to Terror and Starvation, bypasses completely your defenses. She's supposed to be that strong. On top of that, has a separate tumor for each of the main characters, and you cannot poison the torso. This is one of the few enemies immune to poison. Great Battle, A tier. Grogaroth. I consider this one the hardest boss fight of the whole game. Don't misunderstand me, all the battles with good enough preparations are very doable, but even in that case, Grogaroth is still problematic. The Phobia increases the damage from Claw of a God, but also allowing you to summon a phobia-less Blood Golem. Whispers of Grogaroth puts urgency into the battle, and the eyes mechanic where they keep closing and opening is very funny. S tier. God of Fear and Hunger. The last opponent we're gonna evaluate today. The shock you have when fighting the little girl for sure is a lot. And even if the first 4 phases are very boring and bland, the final phase, having 20 agility, requires you to have 20 agility as well to be able to not give him an extra turn. Her attacks are not too dangerous, but I don't think she was really intended to defeat you. Go into B tier, and with this, guys, we can close the tier list for today. I am pretty sure several of you, if not all of you, will not agree with the positioning. But I mean, I don't expect everyone to have the exact same tier list I have. That would just make it boring if there was just one meta tier list everyone follows, right? After all, it's not purely made on the utility of the stuff, it's made also on the emotions they caused in you, and on the designs. All things that are very personal. So, I'm very curious to know, what do you think about the tier list? Let me know in the comments if you disagree, if you agree, if you have other ideas, if you want to kill me, everything. Also, if you like this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe because that's gonna help me a lot. But for today, after this almost 1 hour video, god damn it, guys, I don't know if next week I'll be able to make a video because it's gonna be another very long one and I just started working on it in this moment, but whatever. For the time being, I was Frapolo94 and I will see you next time.